Okay, so we're gonna look at another one that's like one where you need to use the identities. So looking at this immediately, I want you to think about which identity do you know that can convert this into being just one trig function? Because right now there's nothing I can do to factor, there's nothing I can do to solve this. So what identity jumps to mind? Well, for me, the 1 plus tangent squared x equals secant squared x, that's the one that jumps to mind for me. So that's the one I want to use. So wherever you see secant squared, go ahead and replace that with 1 plus tangent squared. And now we notice we have a trig function all in one. I have a squared term, a regular term, and numerical terms. So let's bring everything to one side, set it equal to 0, and solve it like a quadratic. So first I have tangent squared minus 2 tangent x. I have this 1 over here, which I'll move to the end. Subtract 4. So 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So we end up with tangent squared x minus 2 tan x minus 3 equals 0. Well, now we have a quadratic. So if you can, pause, think about it, see if you are able to factor this on your own. Think about it like x squared minus 2x minus 3. What would you do? Immediately I think x minus 3, x plus 1. So you do tangent x minus 3, tangent x plus 1 equals 0. So now, if this factor is 0, 0 times anything is 0. This factor, 0 times anything, this whole thing is 0. So take each factor, set it equal to 0, and solve each factor individually. Oops. Equals 0. So now, minus 1, so I have tangent of x equals negative 3. I have tangent of x equals negative 1. Okay, so the one where tangent of x equals negative 1, that one I know from the unit circle. So I'm going to start with that one. So I know the reference angle where tangent of x is 1 is at that 45-degree angle, right? Oh, I didn't specify if we were in degrees or radians. Of course we're in radians because I said degrees. So this one you need to do it in radians. Okay, so this is not 45, but pi over 4. So where is tangent negative? Well, remember, tangent is sine over cosine, so it's negative where one of those, but not both, is negative. So tangent is negative here and negative here. So remember, you think about it like fractions. This is 1/4, 2/4, this is 3/4. So this is 3 pi over 4. That's this angle. And then this one is going to be 2 pi minus pi over 4th, or 8 pi over 4 minus 1 pi. So this angle is 7 pi over 4. Now, why am I writing them weird like this? Because we were given no restrictions, which means we have to write these in a formulaic answer. So each of these is just going to be plus 2 pi n plus 2 pi n. Now, maybe some of you are looking and noticing, what is actually happening? How can we combine this down to something a little bit smaller so we just have one formulaic answer here? I want to think, how long does it take me to get to 7 pi over 4? Well, that's 3 to 7 is 4 pi over 4. That's pi. And then I come back pi, come back pi, come back pi. So you can choose either one of these and write this as one singular formula plus pi n. Okay, so that's your final answer for that one. Okay, now let's focus on the other side. So tangent of x is equal to negative 3. Check your calculator, make sure it's in radians, because this one, the only way you can solve it is to do the inverse tangent on both sides of negative 3. So I'm plugging this in my calculator. Oops. Inverse tangent of negative 3. And I get negative 1.25. I'll do 2 decimal places for this one. So x is negative 1.25. But at this point, I need to stop and think. I should have 2 answers for this. Why should I have 2 answers for this? Well, because tangent is negative, again, in these 2 quadrants. So how do I get from this one to this one? I would just add pi. So one of my answers is negative 1.25. Add pi to it. So my other answer is 1.89. Is that right? No, because I'm looking at the negative. Lydia, you crazy. Oh, negative 1.25 is from this side. Oh, poop. Inverse tangent of, oh, I did -3, y'all. I'm crazy. +3, that's why. See, look, everyone makes mistakes. I'm not even gonna edit this out so you can see. Everybody makes mistakes. You probably already caught it. Okay, so I fixed that. I just did the inverse tangent. It's the same thing, but the positive version. That makes sense. Silly me. Okay, so 1.25. So sorry, so now add pi to 1.25 and you get 4.39. Okay, so our other x is 4.39. So again, for this, we're gonna write the formula. But again, for this, I want you to think, how long will it take me to get from one of these to the other? It will take me, well, this is gonna be in this quadrant to this quadrant, but it'll take me 2 pi to get to the whole thing, but just pi to get to each section. So you can actually write this one as just the one formula as well. Plus pi n, because tangent repeats every 180 degrees or every pi. Okay, so that's one example.